What if you could swap out those chaotic, anxiety-fueled mornings for some genuine calm and clarity? Well, in this explainer, we're diving into a fascinating 90-day experiment that did exactly that, using a pretty surprising source of wisdom, a 2,000-year-old philosophy from the Roman Empire. Does this sound familiar? You know that feeling. The second your alarm goes off, your chest gets tight, your mind's already spinning through a list of everything that might go wrong today. As the source material puts it, the morning routine was anxiety first, everything else second. And that was the starting line, this daily cycle of anxiety, just setting the tone before you've even had a sip of coffee. Look, a lot of us have tried the modern fixes, right? Meditation apps, gratitude journals, all the productivity hacks. But they can feel like a Band-Aid. This experiment asks a totally different question. What if the real answer isn't some new piece of tech, but an ancient way of thinking that was literally designed for navigating chaos? And that brings us to where this solution came from, which is pretty unexpected. It's the philosophy of Stoicism, discovered through the personal writings of none other than the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. So this is the exact quote that kicked off the whole journey. And I know what you're thinking. At first glance, it sounds incredibly pessimistic, doesn't it? It almost sounds like you're just setting yourself up for a miserable day. But here's the twist. He wasn't being negative. He was being prepared. See, the Stoic insight here is that mornings aren't supposed to be perfect. They're your training ground for dealing with an imperfect world. It's all about setting realistic expectations so you can navigate reality, not try to escape from it. So, inspired by this, the author built a morning routine based on 5 core Stoic pillars. This was the practical step-by-step framework that they used, so let's break them down one by one. Everything, and I mean everything, starts with pillar 1. This is the foundation for the entire practice, just asking the question of control. This whole pillar is built on a core Stoic idea called the dichotomy of control. It's a simple but honestly life-changing act of drawing a really hard line in the sand between what is truly up to us and what isn't. The mental relief that comes from making this distinction is, well, it's pretty much immediate. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you have things you can actually control. Your effort, how you respond to things, your own intentions. But on the other side, other people's opinions, the final outcome, traffic, all that stuff. So much of our morning anxiety comes from trying to manage that impossible list on the right. So how do you actually do this? It's a really simple 5-step process you do every morning before you even think about grabbing your phone. You just sit, you ask, what's mine to control? You list what is, list what isn't, and then, this is the key, you mentally release what isn't yours and you commit to what is. All right, next up is pillar 2, practice negative visualization. Now, this sounds pretty grim, I get it, but it's not about being a pessimist. Think of it more like building psychological immunity. The author had this incredible insight. Anxiety is just surprise in disguise. The goal here is not to dwell on huge catastrophes. It's to briefly imagine small, everyday problems, like spilling your coffee or a meeting running late, to totally strip them of their power to ruin your day. And the practice itself is super straightforward. For just 3 minutes, you visualize your day, you mentally throw in a couple of small disruptions, and you rehearse responding calmly. So when a real problem happens later, your brain's already seen it. It's like a rerun, not a crisis. Pillar 3 is to do one hard thing first. And the key here is not about productivity or hustle culture. It's all about building self-trust and getting some momentum going. So within the first hour of waking up, the author would just complete one small task they've been avoiding. A case study in the source material summed it up perfectly. Courage comes first, confidence is the receipt. You prove to yourself that you don't need to feel like doing something to actually do it. The action creates the confidence, not the other way around. Okay, pillar 4, journal with surgical precision. Forget about those long, rambling morning pages. This is a brutally honest 3-line format that's all about clarity, not confession. You can see just how powerful this is. Line 1, what matters today? Line 2, what doesn't matter today, which honestly is often the most important part. And line 3, how I'll respond when things go wrong. It forces you to point your attention exactly where you want it to go. And the final pillar is to move the body. And once again, the focus here is probably not what you'd expect. It's only for 5 minutes, and it's not really about fitness, it's about discipline. The specific movement didn't matter at all. It could be walking, stretching, anything. The whole point was to show up even when you were tired or just not feeling it. As the author says, this simple act is a symbolic vote. You're actively choosing to be led by your commitments, not by your feelings. So that's the routine. But what actually happened after 90 days of doing this? Let's get into the results, because they really show this clear shift from total chaos to clarity. The numbers are just stark. Before the experiment, the author said they woke up with that tight-chested anxiety 6 or 7 mornings a week, basically every day. After 90 days, that dropped down to just 1 or 2. That's a fundamental change to your entire daily emotional state. And what about that instinct to just grab your phone? Well, the average time before picking it up went from within 2 minutes of waking up to 47 minutes. That is nearly an hour of reclaimed mental space and focus every single morning. But honestly, the results went way beyond the numbers. The biggest changes were the ones you can't really measure. No longer having to argue with your moods every morning, treating setbacks like they're just part of the plan instead of emergencies. And maybe most importantly, building this deep sense of self-trust by just keeping these small promises to yourself. So the big takeaway from this whole experiment, the ultimate lesson, is really a redefinition of what mental strength even is. It's not about trying to control every single outcome or force the world to go your way. Real strength is having clarity about what you can control and the wisdom to let go of everything else. And that's really what this all comes down to. It's not about finding some perfect, Instagrammable morning routine. It's about having a practice that reminds you who you are when everything else feels uncertain. So I'll just leave you with that same simple but powerful question that started this whole thing. Tomorrow morning, what actually belongs to you?